FSC was able to host the FSC Student Award Ceremony, where we can see their dean speaking and the FSC rep also speaking at the top. Currently ongoing, the FSC rep is meeting with various heads of departments across the faculty to address the issues that have been occurring, and of course we're able to swiftly deal with the issue that involves the snap machine. The FSC rep continues to make, and FSC student committee continues to make changes to the constitution of society to ensure that the experience is enhanced and is addressing issues regarding various courses across departments, specifically preliminary math and Earth cooking. So chemistry is a new course. Which goes to students with speediest of recoveries.
The Guild formally acknowledges the resignation of the appendant from the position of international students representative. During her tenure, she contributed to strengthening engagement, representation, and integration opportunities for the international students while ensuring community in the committee's work. The Guild now welcomes her successor, Matthias Sims, who will assume responsibility for advancing ongoing initiatives and representing the interests of the international student community. This semester, the campus has welcomed 17 international students, all of whom are ladies, representing the United States, Canada, and England. These students contribute to the diversity and cultural richness of the university community, ensuring their integration and comfort and engagement has remained the priority of the committee. Efforts have been made to create opportunities for social connection, cultural exchange, and active participation in campus life so that these students feel welcome and supported during their time at the university. Reflecting on the academic year, one notable change has been the absence of the International Student Pageant. Traditionally, the pageant would serve as a key platform for cultural expression and engagement among international students. In response, the committee has intentionally shifted its focus towards strengthening collaboration with UWI. The collaboration provides an alternative platform for visibility, engagement, and meaningful participation in the campus culture. As part of this effort, a proposal has been developed in collaboration with UWI to support integration and engagement objectives while also creating opportunities for fundraising and community building. This initiative remains in its planning and consultation phase with the goal of delivering a successful and impactful experience for international students and the wider campus community. The committee has also continued to support ICC engagement initiatives that encourage participation and strengthen relationships among island associations. These activities play an important role in fostering unity and ensuring that international students remain included in the broader student experience. Additionally, outreach and integration remain key priorities. Plans have been developed for an international students outing to encourage social connection and provide students with the opportunity to explore and experience Barbados beyond the campus environment. The committee has also initiated plans for an educational school visit focused on promoting regional awareness and cultural identity, reinforcing the role of students as ambassadors of both their home countries and the wider Caribbean community. The committee has further contributed to campus life by supporting the wider Guild of cultural initiatives, ensuring that international students remain visible, represented, and integrated within the university environment. Moving forward, the International Students Committee will continue to build on these initiatives under the leadership of Matthias Sims with a continued focus on strengthening engagement, representation, and overall experience of the international students. Thank you. That is all for tonight. Thank you.
Matthias. So we will now have the reports from accommodations. Right, so we'll have the reports on accommodations, and it will be presented by our by our committee's representative, Ms. AGM. Good night, everybody. Okay, so as you have heard, my name is Ethan Henry. I'm the police representative or campus representative for this academic year, and I will be giving the report for the Sherlock Hall, Frank, Keith, and of course my own. So starting off with Sherlock. Alrighty. For the sake of formalities, this segment will focus on Sir Philip Sherlock Hall, our goals, the events we hosted, maintenance updates, and what lies ahead. Beyond the bullet points, this is about community. What we have built, what we are protecting, and what still needs improvement. So for our goals, this semester, the council made a deliberate decision to strengthen the bond among residents and deepen Sherlock pride. We wanted residents to feel at home, but not just comfortable, engaged and active. For a recap of semester 1, after the last AGM, the council got to work. Our DRO kicked things off with Yellow Table Talk, where residents engaged in a thoughtful and rigorous discussion on abortion. The conversation challenged the idea that pro-life and pro-choice aren't always simple, clear-cut positions. Soon after, Halloween arrived and Sherlockites embraced dummies and jumbies Hollow Weekend, themed around Caribbean folklore. Led by the CEAC committee, the hall came alive with the haunted house, movie marathon, mafia mystery, and trick-or-treating. To build connections across floors, the sports committee launched the first BOFF event, Nosy Neighbor. How well do you know your floor mate? Where Utopia emerged victorious.
Incorrect. No.
Synergy. Okay, that's your whole chairperson. Synergy, my bad, emerged victorious. We also hosted Sherlock Study to support residents during peak academic pressure. Creativity had its moments during the second annual Sherlock Week of Talent with KDL Music, hosted by the whole chairperson and showcasing the range of talent within our walls. Finally, before exams, the council hosted our annual council breakfast for the residents. As a recap of semester 2 began with Pillow Talk, where residents reflected on semester 1 and committed to carrying that momentum forward. We eased into the semester with a casual movie night before BOFF resumed. Before Bob resumed. I didn't know to say Bob, I don't know. So before Bob resumed, the sports committee introduced a floor promotional video competition, challenging each floor to create a trailer or teaser that captured its identity. In the spirit of Valentine's, we also hosted a floor and notice board decorated competition themed around love. The weekend also included a rom-com movie marathon, Buff Sports Day, followed, and the Spartans claimed the title. That correct, right?
Yes.
There we go. Just yesterday, residents gathered for Two-Step Tuesday as part of Sherlock Week alongside our Semester 2 AGM, where progress updates and upcoming plans were shared. So Sherlock Week. We are currently in the midst of Sherlock Week, a celebration of floor competition, and black and gold flowing through our corridors. The week began with a Bible service grounding us in spirituality. We moved into games nights, followed by two-step Tuesday. Up next is karaoke, then All Nations Harvest, where residents showcase their cultures, traditions, and cuisine. The week will culminate in Sherlock Day dinner, theme Empire Built on Unity. Maintenance reports. Now, to a more serious matter, the Council has continued to report ongoing maintenance concerns to the Accommodations Office. While some efforts have been made, significant issues persist. The structural integrity of the building remains a critical concern. Columns are degrading, ceiling patches are unstable, and some railings are not firmly secured. Water pressure remains inconsistent on several floors. Hot water is periodic or completely unavailable in some areas. Ceiling panels in the TV room and study room are missing and leak during heavy rainfall. Lawn maintenance lacks consistency. Pest infestation continue to arise periodically. On Sunday, the 8th of February 2026, the TV room was commercially cleaned. Artisans were also present sporadically to address cracks and faults in the foundation. However, the Council maintains that these measures are insufficient and has formally raised these concerns again with accommodations. Upcoming activities. Looking ahead, residents can anticipate All Nations Harvest, Sherlock Day, Constitutional Battleship, a new merch launch, a give back activity, and of course, SFK week of activities. The goal remains the same: strengthen pride, deepen engagement, and continue building on the Sherlock culture that came before us. In closing for Sherlock, thank you for your time and continued support. The Sherlock Council, alongside its residents, remains committed to protecting and growing the culture of Sir Philip Sherlock Hall, and we look forward to your support in making it even stronger. Beautiful. Don't start that now right now. Don't start that right now, please. We can have done. Now, Sir Frank Worrell Hall. The Sir Frank Worrell Hall presents this report to the student body as a summary of its activities, advocacy efforts, and strategic direction for this academic semester. The reporting period reflects a focus on student engagement, welfare advocacy, community building, and leadership continuity within the residence. Over the past semester, the whole council concentrated on strengthening resident engagement through structured programming. Early in the term, the council welcomed their new students through a week of fun and insightful events, from a Bridgetown tour to a movie night. The introduction of Worrellific Wednesdays further enhanced midweek engagement within the hall. These recurrent sessions created consistent opportunities for students to unwind, socialize, and strengthen interpersonal connections. Later in the semester, the Halloween movie night was hosted as a low-cost, high-participation event aimed at fostering social cohesion among residents. The event was well received and provided an accessible platform for interaction across the hall. Fundraising initiatives such as ice cream sales contributed both financially and socially to the hall's operations. These activities supported upcoming programming while also serving as informal engagement spaces for residents. In addition, the annual soup kitchen and donation drive, which stood out as a significant welfare initiative. Through collaboration with sponsors and the support of residents, the hall was able to contribute to community outreach efforts and assist in stocking the hall pantry. This initiative reinforced the hall's commitment to service beyond its immediate residential boundaries. As the new semester began, the hall shifted its attention toward rebuilding momentum and strengthening hall identity. Returners Week was organized to re-engage students following the break period. From January 21st to 25th, 2026, the week's activities were structured to re-establish community energy and encourage renewed participation in hall life. Valentine's themed programming, including games nights such as Bid for Love, Match or Mismatch, and Pop the Balloon, and a Valentine's bake sale, along with the delivery of Valentine's care packages, which further contributed to student engagement and fundraising. These events encouraged creativity, supported small-scale student entrepreneurship, and increased the visibility of core activities across campus. With the introduction of pizza sales and continued ice cream sales, maintain both morale and financial support for future initiatives. In addition to all these activities, our second semester AGM was hosted on Sunday, 15 February 2026, where residents came out to listen to the council and voice their concerns. We deeply appreciate your attendance at these events. In keeping with governance responsibilities, preparation for the Sir Frank Worrell Hall elections commenced, with nominations opening on February 16th. Leadership transition remains a priority to ensure continuity, accountability, and sustained representation of the residents' interests. Planned initiatives include Crown the Crib, a best decorated dorm competition aimed at fostering pride in living spaces, as well as a block versus block flag competition, and a chant-out competition to build unity and healthy rivalry among residents. Upcoming events include SFK Week, Frank Week, Give Back activities, and the launch of the Frank Worrell Hall Revival Band. Beyond the lookout. Beyond social and cultural activities, the Hall Council has actively represented residents in matters concerning welfare and facilities. While some matters have been resolved by the accommodation office, there are many issues outstanding which have become prominent across the hall. Reports of water leaks across numerous blocks have resulted in flooding on some blocks. The inconsistent hot water system has affected a multitude of blocks. Reports of kitchen appliance failures, pest infestations, and structural concerns have been formally submitted to accommodations. Please note that the installation of fire alarms has begun on halls. The Hall Council has conducted follow-ups and escalated recurring issues to advocate for improved living conditions. The Sir Frank Worrell Hall Council acknowledges the support of its sponsor, Jordan Supermarket, whose contribution assisted in the execution of the Soup Kitchen Initiative and the continued operation of the Hall Pantry. Such partnerships enhance the hall's capacity to support residents in meaningful ways. In summary, the Sir Frank Worrell Hall would like to thank you all, those on and off campus, for support. The Frank Worrell Hall Council remains committed to enhancing residential experience and protecting the legacy that is of the Sir Frank Worrell Hall. Thank you. So Keith Hunte Hall. As we reflect on the past weeks at Sir Keith Hunte Hall, we started with Moving Week, which took place from the 19th to the 23rd of January. which marked the beginning of a new chapter. During that period, we welcomed residents, facilitated transitions, and ensured that the hall was prepared to receive both familiar and new faces. Next, on February 6th, we convened our annual general meeting, and that meeting served not only as a constitutional requirement, but as a platform for transparency and accountability. Additionally, on February 15th, we shifted from governance to fellowship as we hosted our Valentine's Day brunch, as well as our Valentine's Day gift exchange, which created space for residents to connect in a relaxed and enjoyable setting. However, alongside the celebrations, we also addressed critical maintenance matters that are currently affecting our hall. A meeting was held with the hall's administration to discuss ongoing maintenance concerns. Among these issues raised were washers and dryers that had fallen out of order, door batteries that required replacement to maintain secure access, and general lighting that needed attention throughout the premises. It must also be said that some maintenance matters faced last semester were rectified, such as replacement of out-of-order fridges. Now, let's turn our focus to what is next for Sir Keith Hunte Hall. On the calendar for the upcoming semester, we have a multitude of events planned, such as our annual Hunter Sports, themed games night, movie night, handing over dinner, and much more. Thank you. Alrighty, it's my turn. Okay, to start this off, I was able to fill positions, thankfully. So, let's move on to okay. Yes, it's small but mighty. Yes. I ask that you stay with me and give this section your full attention, as it will be a bit more detailed than some of the other reports. Unlike the halls of residence, the Commuter and all-campus community does not have a separate AGM, so this presentation is intended to comprehensively address the concerns that have been raised and the work that has been ongoing. I would also appreciate your patience as I work through the report, particularly before questions are asked, either online or on the floor. So while that's sorted out, I just wanted you all to get familiarized with your executive. I'll start by familiarizing everyone with the members of the committee that serve the off-campus and commuters community. It's led by myself, of course, Peter Henry. Okay, we have Ms. Stacey Johnson serving as the Deputy Commuters Rep, Mina Paul as the Welfare Officer, Brandon Gideon as the Sports Rep, Stan February as the Warrants Rep, Laura Budu as the Events Officer, and Mr. Jalen Archibald as the Bridgetown Representative. We may have a small executive, but it's a committed one. For example, many of you may see Jalen in the group chat. Even though he is the Bridgetown Rep, he talks in all the chats. He tries to keep you all updated on when the shuttle is leaving and the location as best as he can. So, these are the individuals who have put themselves forward to serve, and I want to take a moment to sincerely thank them for the work that they have done thus far and for serving alongside me on this committee. So, Unity, great. Moving on to Unity Week, also referred to as SFKC Week, which was held during the week of November 9th to the 14th of 2025. This week was hosted in partnership with the Halls of Residence and overall was a very successful and well-rounded week of activities. I want to take a moment to again thank not only my co-counselors and my executive, but also the executives and chairpersons of the respective halls of residence. Their individual and collective efforts were seen and appreciated, and they contributed greatly to the positive turnout and overall atmosphere of the week. Thank you as well to all the students who showed up and participated. We appreciated you taking time to engage and enjoy the activities planned. The week began with a multi-faith service on Sunday, followed by a bake sale on Monday, football tournament on Tuesday, which concluded with commuters taking home the trophy. And we forwarded to a midweek unwinding session where we had yoga in the morning and soca aerobics in the afternoon. There was a scavenger hunt on the Thursday that was heated for a bit, but we got some winners. Congrats again to them. And Friday we hosted our Come Kick It With Us or self-defense class, which was hosted by or facilitated by the Barbados Shotokan Karate Club. Yeah, I'm gonna show some pictures for the week so far. We will discuss that in detail a bit more. Well, actually, we could do it now. While turnout across the week was generally good, I do want to specifically address the self-defense class, which did not have as high as a turnout as I would have hoped. This was particularly notable given that earlier in the semester at the first AGM, students had expressed strong interest in self-defense initiatives and personal safety measures. Now, our host, Barbados Shotokan Karate Club, taught some or they focused on practical techniques, simple skills that can be learned in a short period of time and that can be used to escape or defend oneself in a tight or unsafe situation or until assistance arrives. While self-defense is of course an ongoing practice, the value of even basic skills cannot be overstated. I want to be clear that neither myself or my council would ever seek to remove responsibility of the university in terms of safety and security of students within its jurisdiction. However, we also recognize the importance of empowering students with tools that can be used to mitigate risk, particularly in situations that may fall outside of the immediate bounds of the campus's control. As such, I'm hoping that for the upcoming self-defense class being organized by the Guild, we will see a greater turnout and participation. Now, with the next slide, please. In relation to the NCF and warrants, shuttle staff coverings, both myself and the Office of Student Services are fully aware of the current condition of the subs. We recognize that students should not be left exposed to the elements, particularly during periods of heavy rainfall, while waiting for their respective shuttles. This concern has been formally raised with OSS, and supporting images have also been provided to clearly demonstrate the current state of the subs. I can confirm that this matter is actively being addressed, with discussions underway regarding the revamping of the existing structures and provision of more appropriate shelter for students. While I understand that there were expectations for temporary measures to be implemented during the vacation period, these concerns were also raised and communicated. At this stage, I'm asking students to bear with OSS a little longer. The work is ongoing and the issue has not been ignored. Additionally, general maintenance matters, including the power washing and upkeep of the shuttle stops, have also been brought to the attention of OSS and are similarly being addressed. This is our big section. Updates. Communication with OSS being the first points. I'll now move on to a number of ongoing matters which warrant updates. The first of these is communication with OSS. Improving communication with the commuters, between the commuters committee and OSS was one of my key mandates coming into office, particularly in relation to receiving more timely updates when there are issues affecting the shuttle service, such as delays or cancellations. I can say that there has been some improvements in this area, particularly in terms of maintaining open lines of communication with OSS leadership, including Ms. Lynch, as well as the shuttle supervisor, Mr. Wayne Harewood. Concerns raised are communicated directly and efforts are made to relay information to students as soon as it becomes available. That being said, I also want to be transparent. Communication is not yet where it should ideally be. There are still instances where buses are cancelled or delayed and students understandably reach out or ask for updates that may not yet be available. For example, last week there was no 3:15 or 4:15 shuttle. While I did immediately seek clarity on the matter, it is important to note that my direct line of communication is with Mr. Harewood and not with the individual drivers. As a result, if information is not immediately available to him, it will not be immediately available to me. I understand that this can be frustrating in the moment, particularly when students are trying to plan how to get to class or home. However, I do want to note that there has been incremental progress. For instance, on an occasion this week, I was informed no later than 10:30 a.m. that there would be no 3:15 p.m. bus, allowing students to be notified earlier and make alternative arrangements. While this may seem like a small improvement, it is a step forward from situations where no information was shared at all. I'm continuing to explore and propose alternative avenues to improve the speed and reliability of updates, particularly recognizing that drivers are often the only persons to know when issues arise. This is an ongoing discussion, and I remain committed to pushing for better systems, not only for the remainder of the term, but also to make the transition smoother for the incoming Commuters Committee. Next, I want to discuss the Shuttle Act. With respect to the Shuttle Act, this remains a work in progress as well. I understand the frustration that comes with not being able to see the real-time location of the shuttle and having to rely on peer updates to determine where the bus is. For instance, a student may already be on the bus without data access, or may be unable to respond at the time, or where there's no one currently at shuttle at all to provide updates to anyone. That being said, the development and improvement of the Shuttle Act has experienced some delays, including technical and administrative, which have slowed its progression. Feedback continues to be collected and shared with the relevant parties, and the matter remains under active consideration. While I recognize that this is not the ideal situation, I ask again for patience as the work continues. The Shuttle Act has not been abandoned, and your concerns are always heard and noted. The restaurant stop at night. At the previous AGM, concerns were raised regarding the restaurant night stop, with some students expressing a preference for an alternative drop-off location, specifically a return to the area near the former fire station. This concern was formally raised with OSS and was given due consideration. However, at this time, due to existing transport and licensing restrictions, that location is not currently a feasible option for a nighttime drop-off, for the nighttime drop-offs. That said, I want to acknowledge that this matter was raised primarily as a safety concern. As such, if any students have additional suggestions or would like to further discuss possible alternatives, I remain open to those conversations and encourage you to reach out so that these ideas can be expressed further. On to the warrant stop. The warrant bus is an issue that has been raised consistently over the years. Across multiple commuter representatives, and it remains a matter for concern for many students. There continues to be an interest in having the Warrens route operate during the day, as this will offer great convenience, or greater convenience rather, to a significant portion of the commuter population. This matter has been formally discussed with OSS by the Commuters Committee. In addition, members of the Guild Council have also raised the issue externally with government officials, including the Deputy Prime Minister and other relevant stakeholders. One of the key considerations raised in these discussions is demonstrated demand. Where there have been periods in the past, most likely predating most of us, where the Warrens route operated during the day, the feedback at the time did not show sufficient demand for the university to sustain it, Now, there's a well-established demand for the Bridgetown routes. Some people would even like there to be 2 Bridgetown buses running at the same time. I see the stop. I know what the stop looks like. I know half the people sometimes don't even get on. However, that's not the case for the Warrens route, because we need to see some sort of documentation showing that there's actually a need for it. We published a feedback form last semester. I got 30 to 35 responses, 35 max. That's where you need to tell me what it is you need. If it is you don't express to me directly, so I have some form of statistical backing to show to OSS for them to say, hey, 80 people said that they will be using the bus during this time, for the Warrens route. If you don't give me that, how can I help you? I need you to help me to help you. I need you to help yourselves. So we will be publishing another feedback form this semester, and I implore you all who are interested in having this service to participate in the feedback form. Don't send me here with probably 8 people out of the 30 people talking about the Warrens route during the day, and then in the group chats I hear a different story. That's what I don't want. I want to be able to help you, but you have to say something and do something for me to help you. Okay? Okay? Okay. So, completion of the routes at night. Moving on to the completion of the shuttle routes at night, it has been brought to my attention that on occasion, the NCF and Warren shuttles may not be completing their full routes during their night operations. I want to be very clear that this is unacceptable and not how the shuttle service is intended to operate. Drivers should not be cutting the route short, nor should students be asked how far are they traveling to as a means of determining whether the route will be fully completed or will be completed. All advertised routes are to be completed in full. There are no shortcuts at night. Even if a student currently on the shuttle is not traveling to a particular area, there may be students in those areas who need access to the service, whether to return home, to get to campus, or to just transit between locations. Any instance where there's a route that is not completed should be brought to my attention. Where necessary, students are also encouraged to submit a formal report to OSS, as documented incidents are required for these matters to be properly investigated and addressed. Students are entitled to receive the shuttle service as it is advertised, and the committee will continue to advocate for the service to operate as it is meant to. Safety and security, let's piggyback off of that. The next update ties directly into safety and security, particularly in relation to Usain Bolt complex and postgraduate area. Another thing brought to my attention is that students will refuse transportation to the Usain Bolt complex, including during periods where there was an incident in that area. Even outside of any specific incident, it is important to recognize that this area is poorly lit at night, and there are students who both live in that area and have classes there. In the interest of clarity, I want to outline exactly how the NCF route is supposed to operate, as confirmed by Mr. Haywood yesterday. From sunup to sundown, upon completing the NCF portion of the route, the bus is required to proceed downhill, travel up towards the Usain Bolt complex, past the student gym, and continue to postgraduate, and then conclude at Keith Hunte Hall. That is the correct and complete operation of the NCF route. Any refusal by a driver to drop students at the Usain Bolt complex, to pass through that route, or to complete that portion of the journey without a reasoning should not be happening and should be reported. I'm also aware that there was previous confusion regarding whether it was the Bridgetown bus or the NCF bus that serviced Keith Hunte Hall. During a period where only 2 buses were operational, students were temporarily allowed to board the Bridgetown bus and be transported to the hall. Now that all buses are operational, services have reverted to their standard arrangements. Students traveling to Keith, postgrad, or Usain Bolt are to use the NCF bus. The Bridgetown bus will only service Keith and postgrad upon request on return from Bridgetown, not leaving campus. I encourage students to keep this in mind and to report any deviations from this operation. Next, driver complaints. In relation to driver complaints, I received multiple concerns from students, whether communicated to me privately or raised within the group chats. All complaints that have been brought to my attention have been forwarded to Mr. Haywood. However, I want to emphasize the role I play in this process. As the Commuter's representative, I act as an intermediary between students and OSS. Only issues that are formally brought can be escalated. And ultimately, action can only be taken where complaints are submitted in writing by the students directly affected. At present, while numerous concerns have been expressed informally, only a small number, approximately 5, I got more than 20, have been formally followed up with documented reports. This significantly limits the ability of OSS to investigate and address these matters effectively. I want to be clear that I do not excuse any form of disrespect, poor customer service, unsafe driving practices, or unprofessional behavior exhibited by the drivers. Students pay for the service, and the manner in which they are treated matters. That said, meaningful action requires a paper trail. I therefore strongly encourage all students to submit complaints directly to OSS via, and I'd like you to pay attention to the email, studentservices@cavehill.ue.edu. And you can also CC me, feel free to CC me at gilcommutersrep@mycavehill.ue.edu. And this applies to past, current, and any future complaints that may arise. Feedback forms, I'll keep this short with respect to feedback form responses. Much of this has already been addressed. However, I want to reiterate that the second round of Commuter feedback forms will be circulated later this semester. I strongly encourage all students to participate. Your responses are critical in allowing the committee to compile formal evidence-based submissions to advocate for the changes that you want to see implemented. Oh. Next, please. Okay. You see these? These are here? These are for you. Oh. These are for you, just for you. I want to briefly highlight a resource that is currently available to students. These are the shuttle route booklets provided by OSS. To access them, I'm going to tell you how. You can Google search Student Services UWI Hill, navigate to the Support Services section, and select Transportation from the drop-down menu. Boom, you find it. Just like that. I do want to acknowledge that some of the operational details that my committee and I have learned during our time in office are not reflected in those booklets. Previously, there was also a shuttle manual available through the Instagram link tree, but that is no longer operational. As a result, the committee intends to work toward developing a more comprehensive guide or manual that clearly explains the finer details of shuttle operations, information that we often have to learn through extensive follow-up and clarification. The aim is to make this information more accessible and transparent to the students going forward. In the meantime, I encourage students to make use of the existing route booklets as they provide a helpful baseline in understanding how the routes operate and where exactly the buses pass. Okay, we're coming back to the end. Housekeeping matters. Yeah. I give you a second to just look at. Okay? Now, alrighty. Before I conclude, I would also like to address a few housekeeping matters. As I have stated previously, the committee does not aim to invalidate the experiences of students. We recognize the frustrations that arise when the shuttle does not operate as expected, and we take those concerns seriously. Another thing I would like to say off script is some of the concerns that you have is the same thing, because I know that there are consistent issues with the shuttle service. So there's no point in me every time somebody says something, oh I'm so sorry, oh I'm so sorry, oh I'm so sorry. I noted it and I forwarded it to the relevant parties. Even if you don't see me say something or one of the committee members say something in the chat, you are not being ignored. But this I will. I do want to respectfully ask that students be mindful of how concerns are communicated to myself, my committee, and any future commuters representatives and their executives. We are also commuters and off-campus residents who experience many of the same challenges, and our role is to advocate on your behalf and to communicate consistently with the relevant administrative bodies that are empowered to make changes. It is important to remember that we do not drive the buses, nor are we the administrative authorities responsible for disciplining drivers or implementing operational changes. As such, we are here to receive your concerns and assist to the best of our ability. We are not here to absorb verbal abuse or hostility. The same respect that we extend to students is the same respect we ask to receive in return. Whether concerns are raised in group chats or in person, they can be communicated firmly and clearly without the use of offensive language or aggressive tones. Have you ever been aggressive to any of you with complaints? No? Thank you. Just checking. I would have checked myself, but thank you so much. So I expect the same in return. Please and thank you. I encourage everyone to take a breath, get your point across, and allow us the opportunity to properly assist you. Constructive engagement makes it far more effective for us to advocate on your behalf and seek meaningful solutions. Don't get too excited. I'm almost done. This is my last, I promise. To conclude, I would like to briefly outline what students can look forward to for this semester. Of course, the feedback forms. In addition, the committee is also exploring welfare initiatives, so stay tuned for that. I also want to note that I look forward to passing on the baton to the student, or to whoever student, because I know that you all are passionate about improving commuter services, particularly those who have been vocal about issues and are willing to be a part of the solution by taking on this role in the future. Thank you all for your attention, your continued support, and your cooperation throughout the tenure thus far. Should you have any concerns, you can reach us at the Instagram or my email, indicated there, or by in any of the group chats. I'm admin in all. You can see the admins. That's the committee members. So have a good night, everybody. Thanks.
Okay, so moving swiftly along, we will now have our president's report. It's getting late, so we're gonna try to wrap it up.
Good night, everyone. Of course, I'll be reporting as of the period October 23rd to now. I firstly want to thank my Vice President, the Acting President at the time, Mr. Alan Span, for his service, for carrying us through that difficult period as a guild, and for making sure that we stuck together during that time. Next slide. Good. So at present we have 5,511 students, and we are moving to the next slide. Hurricane Melissa relief efforts. Next slide. So there are at present 123 Jamaicans on campus. The principal and I would have identified them, make sure that everybody was okay. We would have had a lot of very long meetings to discuss the campus's response to our Jamaicans on campus, as well as our support to the Mona campus. We would have advocated for flexibility for assignments and midterms, as well as the removal of financial holds. So students who are Jamaican at that time would have received some financial forgiveness by courtesy of the Guild's advocacy during that time to ensure that they could have focus on their families at home. Next slide. What I want to talk about and what I want to also commend the Guild of Students for doing is a sensitization campaign. Now, during those times, when the hurricane just landed, there were persons who were very emotional. And they would have received very disgusting comments. And I found that to be very disingenuous of the campus. We could have been a bit more caring and accommodative of their needs during that time, understanding as well. However, we press along with the sensitization campaign. In collaboration with the Treasurer, we also gave out grants during that time from the Student Hardship Fund. We also advocated for the redevelopment or the investment into the Student Hardship Fund that is governed by the Office of Student Services. Now, I think you could get max 500 Barbados dollars at one time in one academic year. So I think the students maxed that out at that time. However, we did work with Barbados and JASA to do a donation drive. So you would have seen bowers in the Guild, you would have seen bowers at the Faculty of Law and in Leslie Robinson Building. I do want to thank all the students who supported. I know that JASAC benefited greatly from the bowers and with the collaboration that we had with Vibe Barbados. And so I want to thank you all for exercising your generosity in that period. So at the admin level, the principal and I, as well as the dean for the Faculty of Humanities and Education, would have done One Love Mediathon at CBC and other media stations here in Barbados to raise some funds over the telephone. I want to thank our Jamaican students especially, and some of my counselors, Dana, Asia, I don't remember, Wesley, I think, for being there, answering the telephones, answering the questions, as well as the JASAC executive and members for putting on performances, etc. And in the end, we would have raised 110,000 dollars to go to the nation Jamaica. Exam packages and holiday events. Now, we did have a festive Christmas Jubilee celebration. I want to continuously apologize for those students who did not receive the packages. This year we're going to be boosting that this semester. And so I anticipate that all students who would sign up for the form that I'm going to put up will receive our welfare package. Now, in addition, we did have the study space availability. There have been complaints over the years concerning the lack of study spaces on campus, and so the Guild, I think in collaboration with the UCC, would have put out tables, chairs, etc. to ensure that you had a safe and quiet space to study. During Guild Week, we would have had free wellness activities. I was not there. My apologies for that, but I saw that you did appreciate and subscribe to the free facial waxing as well as the massages that we had. I saw that the ICC presidents did enjoy their appreciation dinner. I saw that there were lots of photos taken in the professional photography section. And of course, I want to thank our FCCPA representative, Ms. Asia Shepherd, for leading Guild's sweats. Now, from the 25th of January to the 1st of February, myself, along with the postgraduate representative, Mr. T.N. Seeley, the Faculty of Medical Science representative, Mr. Joshua Vadesi, as well as the returning officer, Mr. Wesley Simon, would have journeyed to Antigua. And there we would have represented the campus at the inter-campus committee meetings. Now, just note that the proposals would have been bought. I think, yeah, we have 40 months ago, but we also worked for you very hard. I think the two proposals that were brought forward by the FMS rep and the returning officer are critical for our continuation as students here on the campus. And so they would have been discussed there, approved, and sent to the local campus for piloting. And so faculty expect this discussion, this to be discussed in your next faculty board meetings. Now, as it relates to Hall's move in transportation support, we did that. And so students were able to benefit from free transportation between the Grandy Adams International Airport as well, between the Grandy Adams International Airport to the campus during the moving days, and for Jamaicans, I extended it beyond that period for them. We also have a few partnerships for student benefits. At present, we are working with Hansel Supermarket. I know that we have done 2 trips already to Hansel's, while we are working with Maxi Supermarket to introduce to campus our free delivery system for staff and students together with the Office of Business Development. That should be coming on from next week or week after. Essentially on Wednesdays when the supermarket receives its fresh produce, we will have Philip this basis, essentially, there will be a free delivery system for students on halls as well as those off campus. There will also be, I think, a 5% discount rate for students who are shopping, and therefore you could benefit either from Hampshire Supermarket if you want to go on a Saturday, or you could stay where you are and have it delivered to you from Massey. Along with the National Affairs Committee chairperson, what we would have done is work with Give Back Barbados, so that in the future, those students who are Barbadian and are on the Guild of Students, as well as those who are in our committees, our hard-working members in our committees, we did not forget you, as well as those executive members of PSC, you can now apply for those service hours to be transferred to Give Back hours, so you don't have to choose between serving the Guild and making sure that your tuition is paid. Well, Adrian, self-defense classes are back again. At this point, I've received 30 or so responses of interest. Friday 4 to 6 is the period at which most students would have indicated that they want to do it. The next step is to re-engage with campus security and get it started. That will come on board by the end of the month, hopefully. Office hours, my office hours are on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 9 to 5. Now, I will not be there on Monday, Wednesdays, 9 to 5. So therefore, you can see the link in the link tree to book a session with me, and then we will have a chat through that period. So what I wanted to do is start an anonymous feedback form that will be launched next week. If there's a question that you didn't want to talk about here, or you didn't get the chance, or maybe we will have cut-off questions, or something arises next week, you don't want to come and talk to me, you don't want to come and talk to Alex or anybody else. You just want to say what you want to say, you could say it. I will take it personally, just say it. I'm going to take it. So this is coming next week. The Prayer Rooms Initiative. The Office of Student Services is working on finding a room for me, for us, so that we could pray. And so that is coming on board as soon as they find a room. FMS Shutters meeting, I have engaged the Vice President of Clinical Sciences. I'm waiting for him. Clinical, yes, not pre. I have engaged the Vice President of Clinical Sciences. I'm waiting on him to get back to me, but once that is done, we would be collecting some data in regards to how we can offer for the FMS students who are at the QEH shuttles between the campus and the hospital. Sanitary items. This is in progress. Next slide. Shark Tank event. What I have done is I've started to partner with SEED, which is the building next to OSSD, as well as Surgical Bank. What we are going to do later down this semester is have this Shark Tank style event. More information coming soon. As well as a financial lecture series. This will also be done with Surgical. But we wanted it not only to be this boring, let me tell you about money type of vibe, but to be a bit more informal and fun, in keeping with the Treasurer's mandate as well, just to ensure that we understand how to spend wisely. So there is a new initiative at Water Campus, which is Newport Initiative. We are going to have, once I get it approved, 3 new water fountains to the campus, one at 3Ws, one at Roy Marshall, as well as one at the Pico Surgical Building. This will be in partnership with Newport, and essentially more water, more power. There is also some discussions going on, early discussions in terms of the development of a GIL and UWI app, which will facilitate the streamlining of ticketing for both the GIL and the ICC. When I came into office, I saw so many ticket links from like 2019 and 28, like so many, and I feel it for the trees. And so therefore, what we are saying is that as we move into this digital age, the GIL should move as well with it. I have had discussions, I'm starting to have discussions with the builder to ensure that if you forgot your cash at home, you could still buy at the GIL bar, and that is coming very shortly in terms of our digitization of GIL services. And if you don't have cash, you can still buy a UWI ticket because digitization of the GIL services. Right, so campus lighting. Yes, I've seen all your complaints, and I would have advocated, this is now my 5th admin meeting that I have complained about it. But to my surprise, the lights were on last night and tonight. So there were certain areas that I would have spoken about, especially the area between the Frank Worrell Hall as well as the Faculty of Law, and those areas between the entrance, the main entrance, and the Faculty of Science and Technology building, which were in complete darkness, and the government ministers and all were complaining that is UWI a nightclub? But that is what I brought to the administration, and therefore, together with In Place, they would have restored some of the lighting. It was recently brought to my attention that the area behind the School of Business, the Surgical School of Business, is without lighting, so I will be bringing that to In Place's attention so that we could work on that. I want to also speak to the President of UK Security. I was in a meeting this week, where we were in a meeting with the Cause of Residence Administrator, the Head of Security, Chief of Security, Registrar, etc. And we were saying visitation to halls ends at 1 a.m. What happens to those who want to go back to present view? Why they have to go along? Students do not end their activities on campus at 11 p.m. either. Whereas all of those suggestions, we have got the most articulate arguments to the fore. We are still at impasse in terms of advocating for the extension of the opening of the Pleasant View Gate to 1 a.m. In lieu of that, the returning officer and I, well, he did it. He would have made, is creating, a forum for discussion among the Pleasant View residents for you all to share your concerns and your experiences having lived at Pleasant View, how this gate would be essential to you. Now, unlike AGM, I know that you all could do it. And I know that you all will be able to fill this form with so many responses that we would not have to come and complain about the non-responses. So therefore, when the returning officer puts it out, I'm just kindly asking you, if you find it favorable for you, to just take some time to fill out the form in terms of Pleasant View Gate. All the residents' fee increase. I would have brought it to your attention. Newsflash. All right. So for the Keith Hunte Hall residents, you are spared for this round of increases, but for the Frank Worrell Hall and the Philip Sherlock Hall, it is intention of the Hall's administration to increase your fees by 10% in the next academic year. So if I could be allowed to continue. Okay, so on Sunday I would have gone to the AGM of Sir Frank Worrell Hall to speak with them more about the issues regarding the fee increases. And at that time, on last week Wednesday, I would have gotten a notification. Mary? I would have gotten a notification that the fees will be increased by 10%. Now, they were aiming to pass that yesterday at the meeting of the Finance and General Purposes Committee. However, the principal administrator will have asked for a stall of that discussion as they come back to the meeting board and the drawing board with the Guild of Students to discuss that. Now, it is the position of the Hall Chairperson July that we do not support this increase. And further, if there is any discussion to be done in terms of an increase in hall fees, especially at 10%, especially when we are at the peak of maintenance issues, then there needs to be a clear outline of what the hall fees are currently being used for, what the increase will cover, as well as some indication that they would have thought about the economic welfare of the students. And so that being the position of the Guild, please don't have any serious fears. The next FNGPC will be in a few months' time. And at that point, I would have already come to you and we would have already discussed whatever the bursar and the Hall's administrator would have discussed. However, my time here with you is short, and so I'm not too certain that that will hold for long. So, it's going to increase sometime. Next. Recently, we will have seen the introduction of 2 new pieces of infrastructure for the Guild of Students. There are 2 new prefabricated containers, one to deal with ticketing and chip system, etc. for UWI and other major events, and the other one is to deal with storage of welfare goods, etc., so that the Guild can reintroduce its welfare pantry. While a few of my matters are still in progress, what I want to say is that there is work that we can do as a Guild from my level in terms of student engagement and mentorship programs. It was my intention to host a mentorship or internship for the Guild so that you could have those persons who are interested in joining the movement from June the 1st, sorry, would have gotten some underground or training for them to be a bit more successful and a bit more knowledgeable about what goes on in the Guild. That could not have been done this academic year. I hope it makes its way to the fall next academic year. But what I will say to whoever, he or she, who will be replacing me come June the 1st, this is not an easy road. It was a warning given to me previously. It's a warning that I will give to whosoever feels as though they are capable of wearing any of these yellow shirts. I think the work of the Guild can sometimes be understated and undervalued. I think sometimes persons don't perceive the depth of work that is required to be here. And so I want to warn you that if you have, or if you are going to be interested in the work of the Guild, think about it very seriously. That being said, it does offer great opportunities for senior leadership and beyond, as you would have seen the elevation of one of our past Guild councillors to a ministerial portfolio just this week in Barbados. The Guild is a pathway to excellence, but it is not an easy path. And so in consideration of that fact, I just wanted to invite a round of applause for my hard-working team. They have stuck it out. And though we did not start together, I am so eternally grateful to all of you all for being with me in this. And we are going to stick it out together very strong, and we can't wait to see who comes next. Thank you.
Alright, just to speed it along, we'll have our financial reports, and then after that we will have the RO's report, and then we'll go straight into the question and answer segments.
Good night, everyone. I find it Yes, good night again, everyone. I find it imperative, so I'll start off with the fact that yes, there are refreshments after the AGM concludes. Alright, so we'll start off with the discussion points. So some of this will be reiterated just for anyone that didn't catch it in the first AGM, but the Finance Committee, the Finance Subcommittee, achievements, financial reports, and upcoming initiatives. So I'll start with the Finance Committee. So the chairperson is the Treasurer, myself, Alex Gray, the Vice President, Mr. Alan Plant, the UCC, Mr. Tristan King, an elected representative from amongst the Guild Committee chairpersons, and it is indeed a UE Games year, so that's Mr. Stephen Mitchell. Faculty representative, Mr. Mitchell Israel Duarte, and a hall representative, which is Ms. Abidaniel. Now I'd like to move on to my very hard-working finance subcommittee. My deputy treasurer, Mr. Jaden O'Brien, my secretary, Ms. Aliana Campbell. I have 3 event liaison officers, Mr. Neil Joseph, Ms. Nadisha Jardine, and Mr. Ramon Charles, and our newest appointee, who's working very hard with our social media, Ms. Francis Caesar. Yes, a big round of applause. Have you guys been seeing the post on Instagram? You guys been seeing the post on Instagram? Great. I hope you guys take keen notice of them, especially the one where just because you have a hard day does not mean that you have to treat yourself to KFC each time. And I think that's a big one that people need to look at, and especially the Italia. I had to come up here and mention the Italia as well. It cuts into the budgets, but we'll talk about that one later. So getting into the achievements now, we had the master budget being approved in record time. So this allowed for early access to funds, which aided in emergency welfare events and salaries. VAT exemption, which is something that we would have discussed before, and further talks are in place. The policy is being drafted to ensure that it meets our requirements. So this is something that will benefit the ICC and students at large. So for certain items such as welfare items, you won't have to pay the VAT on it once we go through the UA admin. We also had early opening of welfare. This is general and emergency, and this is just simply getting help to those who need it. And one that I'm very proud of is the faster processing of subventions. I know that would have been a key problem in years past, where especially those with weeks at the start of the year did not have their subventions available, and it led to cash flow problems. So it's already available for this term, which is great. We're in week 5, and yes, we're just trying to distance it from being a drawn out and tedious process, and this is while ensuring that the financial documentation is in order, in alignment with the Constitution, and I'm happy to report that the Guild has passed all financial audits for the fiscal year. So successful and cost-efficient events completed. And we still always plan to improve, especially as it relates to payments made by the bursary. And I think especially in the upcoming year, this is something that should be much easier to do. We're actually looking at ways to have a dedicated person in the bursary, which is just going to pay special attention to guild finances and invoices. I know in the past, what would have been the case is the guild having access to their own bank accounts. But I think what we have now is a good halfway place to there, where we don't take on the burden of having to pay for independent audits, which can be quite costly to the guild and which will take away from welfare for students. So I think a good measure to put in place is having dedicated personnel in the bursary in order to process these invoices faster. So financial governance procedure. So this is a monumental step in building the financial policy of the guild, which helps with their legal and financial compliance because the guild does operate as a business. Moving on, we had a profitable Freshers Week, and we look forward to a profitable UWI week as well. So you can look forward to ticket prices dropping. And as I said, start saving up from now. It's going to be really worth it. You're going to want to go to every single event, and we're going to help you with how to budget. The Office of the Treasurer also would have helped in getting in-house counsel for the guild to aid in legal compliance. This is a great step, especially with contracts. So we've also used the in-house counsel for ICC contracts, which helps with, again, our legal compliance. Another one I'm proud of, the supporting the ICC in the completion of their events. So this involves reviewing contracts and financials. We just want to make sure that no one is taking advantage of the ICC. Increase in welfare and scholarships as part of our holistic development. You will see more on this on the financial report. And we're currently in the process of adopting a new welfare document to refine the process. Increased ICC subventions. So every single island association this year benefited from an increased subvention. And I'm sure that goes a far way in the carrying out of the mandates. Increased sponsorship and collaboration. So at the start of our tenure, I would have approached Rude Boy and Angostura, and that relationship is still fruitful to this day. And the ICC has also greatly benefited. The guild continues to benefit, especially as it relates to UWI Week. And I'm happy to announce our collaboration with Aura, the Crop-Over Band. And we hope to see some more for that, especially for the students. The creation of the Finance Subcommittee. Again, a holistic look at finances. It's making it easier to understand finances, and again, we'll be doing a lot through our increased communication, such as the Treasurers group chat and our revamped Instagram. It's making finances more accessible to the general public and breaking it down so everyone can understand. And financial tips, because now you have to start putting it in action. We want everyone to be very well off and have their own way of wealth management from even at school. So, in essence, overall financial stability, stable prices across all your events, and most importantly, no overspending. So now I'll move on to the financial report. Okay, so we're using the budgeted allocation of $468,623.71, and I'd just like to point out especially that this is the budgeted figure that we're using. So we actually have an increase in students, meaning that we'll have additional funds, but I took the decision to still use the budgeted figure to further ensure proper financial discipline and no overspending. So we have that from student fees and an opening balance of $81,023.71, which gives us total opening revenue of $549,647. The VP's portfolio would have been one of the first to be accessed, which was $34,780.72, and the majority of this would have been for the ICC subventions. Past invoices, we still had to pay off some from the previous tenor, which amounted to about $24,000. Guild Week, $7,190. Majority of this was the ICC dinner and also the massages, etc. ICGC, for those who represented us at ICGC, $7,031.40. The Guild Care Package, 31,125. And what this is this aids in the council being able to fulfill their mandates. It is sometimes a very tedious process, and it involves a lot of being up and down on the road. So this covers stuff like the cell phone allowance and maybe gas money. It's nothing much, but there are 23 of us, so it adds up. Office maintenance, building and equipment, $29,056.60, and majority of this would have been the containers, the beautiful containers. I encourage you all to check it out. It's in the SCR car park, especially the one for tickets. It's really beautiful. You could even rent it out on Airbnb. That's how good it is. They're supposed to laugh at my jokes. So office maintenance, $3,327.75. That's really just ink and paper and those sorts of materials. Fixed operational costs, which is our biggest heading, $100,202.35. And the bulk of this is salaries. I'd say about $70,000 to $80,000 in salaries, because the guild does have to pay salaries for 2 people. And unfortunately this year, we had a member of staff that was out on sick leave. And you still pay people when they're on sick leave, but we still have to take someone else on and pay that salary. So for about a portion of the time, we're paying close to $20,000 a month in salaries, which is why this heading is so big this year. So yeah, majority of the salaries, other things is building maintenance and cleaning. Postgrad, the postgrad representative would have spent $48,459.26 from his allocation, and that allocation is taken out at the start of the year. It's about $92,000, and that goes towards welfare, travel, etc. Overall welfare, this is an increase, and we still plan to open the welfare once the new document is in place. That's $25,775.49. Again, giving money to those who really need it. Miscellaneous, $5,972. Again, this is just the odd item, like a broken laptop, whatever, a broken computer in the guild, or you have to replace a window, etc. Developmental retreats, this would have taken place in August. I would have mentioned that in semester 1. So in total, the halls would have spent $8,664.41, $32.56. Or recent ban law, which was not necessarily for profit, we would have spent $7,000. The returning officer so far has spent $1,275.25. The committee chairpersons, $10,140.25, and the freshers week would have spent $40,000, giving total expenses $421,593. Which gives us net revenue of $128,054. So then other income, we have freshers week, which is $48,000, giving us a profit for that week, and rent $11,400. So total other income $59,400, giving us a net income of $187,454. So we're at a part in the year where we're coming to the end of the fiscal year, and we still have a good cushion, along with again more money coming in from registration, etc. So overspending definitely shouldn't be an issue at this point. What we're going to put this forward now to is proper financial management, increase in welfare, and increase in the type of experience you get at guild events, and also leaving a cushion for the guild to follow. So again, we're just ensuring that your money is not being taken for granted and is going towards what it really should be going towards. That concludes the financial report. So I'll go to upcoming initiatives. So number 1, definitely expanding guild infrastructure, acquiring tents, microphones, speakers, etc. for use by the student body. Increasing communication with the pursuit, which I would have mentioned, dedicated personnel to process all guild matters. Expansion and enhancement of guild welfare, this is still something that we want to improve on, although we've improved drastically from the previous years. And an upcoming professional development and Financial Management Seminar, the 26th of February in the Law Lecture Theatre from 7 to 9 p.m. I encourage all of you to come out. We'll be having a star-studded panel, including the head of the CIBC Eastern Caribbean, head of Massive Finance, head of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Ms. J.B. Thomas, an attorney at law, and a representative of the BLP government. Right now, we're trying to clarify attendance, so this could either be newly appointed Minister, Mr. Christopher Sinclair, or the new Minister of Finance, Mr. Ryan Strachan, and we're in advanced talks for one of them now, so I hope you all come out. It's going to be really informative, and again, with everything coming up, you want to budget your money for the rest of the term so that you're not broke when exams are coming around. You really want to leave a cushion for that. So again, thank you for your continued trust in the Guild, and we look forward to working again in the future. Thank you.
Hi, good night, everybody. I am Wesley Simon, I'm the Guild Returning Officer, and I am here to deliver the elections update. What I'm going to do is that my address today will be divided into 3 parts. First will be a review of the Elections Office, what we have done since the last annual general meeting. Second, I will be speaking about the forward-looking overview of the Cable Decides 2026, which is what we have branded the Guild, the upcoming Guild elections, and I'll also speak briefly, but directly, about electoral compliance, because I believe that can inform students make for a stronger democracy. Right? So let me begin by reaffirming something that I think is worthy of stating plainly. That is, the Guild Elections Office serves to serve every single student on this campus, impartially, professionally, and without fear or favor. And that has been our mandate ever since we last stood before you, and I'm pleased to report that we have honored that. Since our last AGM, the GO has grown, and I'm pleased to formally acknowledge and announce today that we have a brand new Assistant Returning Officer, Ms. Chelsea Duncan, just raised for everybody to see you. She'll be assisting us with our administrative matters. So that further bolsters our commitment in ensuring that the Guild elections is handled in a manner that is worthy of the students' time and money. Right? The 2025 Guild by-elections. One of our most significant actions undertaken by GU in the last semester was the conduct of the 2025 Guild by-elections. I am pleased to report that, well, I think we all know that the election was successful because we are able to elect a brand new president who has been leading the ship very steadily ever since. So let's give him a round of applause for that. Right. Appointment of faculty representatives. So beyond the by-elections, the GO was able to facilitate the appointment of faculty representatives from the Faculty of Culture, Creative and Performing Arts and the Faculty of Sports. Right? We also addressed the vacancy and appointment for the events officer. The GO had navigated at that period and where Mr. Redmond had completed his studies, and we had to then go and fill that vacancy in accordance with the electoral code, and that is why we have recently announced, and everyone saw the publication, that Mr. Brandon Bennett has been duly appointed as the events officer for the remainder of the semester. Now, I must also report out of transparency that we did receive a resignation from the chairperson of the International Affairs Committee. I know we all saw that post, and currently the Guild Council, in collaboration with the Guild Elections Office, is working on substantially filling that post in accordance with the Guild Electoral Code. Finally, I am also delighted to report on one of the GO's most meaningful contributions during this semester. We hosted for the very first time a panel discussion entitled "Why Your Vote Counts," focusing on student leadership and accountability. Now, this event was designed to do something that we consider essential, which is bridging the gap between the electoral process and genuine civic engagement We want to bring voice from across student governance, even those within the political field, to share their perspective and to encourage students really and truly as to why their vote really and truly matters, not just a constitutional or procedural thing. I would say that that event was successful based on the turnout of students and the engagement received by students. And I also want to thank my council colleagues for those who supported us in this process and those for showing up. Thank you again, guys. So, in summary, the GA has been active, it has been responsive, and it has been accountable. We have managed many transitions, we have conducted elections, and we have supported appointments and engaged the student community. And we stand before you today as an office that has proven itself and one that is ready to take on what comes next. So, now I turn to the matter that I expect is of great interest to many of you in this room, which is the upcoming guild elections, which we have branded K-Ville Decides 26. Now let me say this clearly. We are ready, and I hope you are too. The GEO has been planning, coordinating, and organizing all that is needed to put these elections in place. I know that you have seen the elections calendar that has been posted on our Instagram pages, where we had announced that the nomination period was opened from the 27th of January to the 6th of February, and it was subsequently reopened and that reopened nomination lasted for a period from the 12th of February to the 15th of February. Out of transparency, I come before you today to explain why that nomination was reopened. At the time, there was not a sufficient amount of nominees that I could have consciously allow for the guild elections to go ahead with that number. I can say after the reopening of nominations, that number has drastically increased, and we are going into this election cycle with almost a full complement of nominees for the guild council. There is 20 elected offices on the council, and we have received well more than 17 nominees. We have one particular race that will be contested, and at this point I think there's one more student that we're waiting verification from before we officially go on to the filing period. The filing period, this is where we will officially notify all the nominees that they have been cleared by campus administration, that they are eligible to serve for the guild council, and this is where they will file their necessary documents as outlined by the electoral code, and I will officially allow them to become registered as candidates, right? And during the filing period, we will have a candidate workshop. It is scheduled for the 20th of February. All the nominees, I can see at this time, have been duly notified of this workshop. That workshop is very important. It is mandatory because here is where we're going to be giving those students, those future leaders, a breakdown as to what to expect as your counselors, what to expect with campaigning, how to go about campaigning, so that they can better serve you, the students. Campaign period is the 25th of February, and it will last up until the 11th of March. During the campaign period, the debate nights will be held on February 10th and 11th. Further details on that will be shared shortly. Polling day will be on the 12th of March, and we will announce the results that same day at an event to be, further details on that will be forthcoming. I can say that this year around, we have opted to go to an online platform for the polling. Reason being is that hosting in-person elections have been proven to be very costly. Very costly. And we took the conscious decision in that seeing that there are other reasonable and cheaper alternatives that can, one, protect the integrity of the process without hurting the pockets of the students. We opted for that as well. So I think most of us are familiar with the platform that we had used at the last big elections. So currently working on developing an in-house system. I'm working closely with the IT department here so that we can have that going. Alright? Moving on, I would like to take this time here to announce a new initiative under the K-Ville Decides 2026. One I believe represents a most meaningful evolution of how we run our elections. This year, we will be introducing election ambassadors, right? These election ambassadors, they will be replacing polling clerks because we are not using an in-person mechanism. Now, I felt that it will be necessary to get the students' voices in this election process, right? So that it's not just the returning officer or the guild elections office coming and telling you, hey, you should vote, or it's not just the candidates coming, because you're not going to come to you for your votes, but we want to hear from the students. We want to get the students really involved in this democratic process. So we are going to be launching this election ambassador program that will assist us in getting the message out there, that will assist us in reaching you better. And I have to say that this program will also be, well, we intend to have it compensatory. So yes, if you sign up, you will be paid. Just as if you are good, if you're interested in being a polling clerk and you have the capabilities to be able to create content, to speak confidently to students in your faculties, in your halls, I do believe that this is an initiative for you. More details on when that program will be announced will be posted in short order, right? I move to the final part of my presentation, which I want to speak here. I want to speak directly and clearly about electoral compliance. Now, the electoral code, it exists for a reason. It exists not as a bureaucratic inconvenience, but it is a foundation in which the legitimacy of elections rests. Every rule in that code serves a purpose. It serves a purpose to protect the integrity of the process, to ensure fairness among candidates, and to preserve the confidence of the student body of that outcome. Candidates who choose to contest for guild elections accept, by virtue of that decision, an obligation to conduct themselves in accordance with the code. Every candidate is personally responsible for the acts and omissions of their campaign, including acts of members of their campaign team, and where attributable, their supporters. So campaign materials, campaign spending, public communication, and conduct towards fellow candidates and voters, all of these are governed by the electoral code, which is clearly accessible. Right? Ignorance of these rules is not an acceptable defense. And that's precisely why the candidate exists and why we are making it sure that it is mandatory that the candidates attend so they know how to treat the elections properly. Right? And I say this not to intimidate, but to be fair. Because the rules apply equally to every candidate without exception. The GO's role is not to favor any side, and it is ensure that every side plays the same rule. I want to point you to the complaints process. Now, the electoral code provides a clear and structured complaints process for any person who believes that a violation has occurred. Any person who has qualified to vote in the election may file a complaint with the returning officer and the secretary of the Election Complaints Committee as the prescribed form. The link is in our link tree, so please feel free to access that if you have any complaints to make, right? So complaints may be alleged for a contravention of the Constitution, the Code, or any bylaws of the Guild, the commission of an election offense, or misconduct or neglect of duty of election officials. So essentially, for example, if it is that you know that of a candidate or a nominee that has, say for example, began campaigning to you before the campaign period, this is an election offense, and you do have remedial, you can have this remedy by bringing this to my attention, and I am obligated by the code to treat this thing fairly and justly. Alright? My role as a returning officer is to bear ultimate responsibility for the administration of the elections. That includes overseeing nominations, managing the electoral timeline, adjudicating on procedural matters before polling day, and ensuring the electoral code is applied consistently and fairly. And I intend to exercise that authority independently and guided by the code, and my obligation to every member of the student body equally. Right? The ECC, well, the two bodies that play an important role in this complaints process. There is the ECC, which is the Election Complaints Committee. They will have jurisdiction to adjudicate on election complaints after polling day, and they can also review the decisions that I have made before polling day. Then we also have the Election Complaints Appeal Tribunal. This tribunal will hear and determine appeals from the decisions of the ECC, and the decisions will be final and binding. These are independent bodies from me, from the Guild, from the GU, and they function as a system of checks and balance that gives confidence to the entire process. And their existence is not a threat to any candidate, it's a guarantee for every candidate that the process is fair. And that would essentially wrap up what I have to, my elections of duty. I now move to the part where I think most of us are very interested, and which is the question and answer segment. So I think we're no stranger to the process. We have shared a link where you can submit your questions online, and we have assistant returning officers on the floor that you can go and ask your questions to, and they will vet it, and we will then propose it to the Guild Council or to the appointed officer, right? So you see, on this side of the room, we have my principal assistant general officer, Ms. Azaria Guzman. We have my assistant general officer, Ms. Khalees Knights, the secretary to the GU, Ms. Catherine Smith, and the assistant general officer, Ms. Chelsea Duncan, right? I can say now that questions on the floor will be given precedent, and we also will try our best to get to all as much questions as we can on the form. So feel free to go to any of these ladies here to ask your questions to the Guild Council or any particular councillor. In the meantime, I will start asking questions that were submitted on the form. So this question is directed to the Guild Council. The IEC office made very big promises at the AGM last year. However, majority of these promises were not fulfilled. For example, the Caribbean Majesty Pageant, as well as various other IEC events, and those that should have been held during Guild Week. What was the reason for the lack of events?
Thank you for that question. I do recognize the resignation, the recent resignation of the International Affairs Committee chairperson as of yesterday. Prior to that, the International Affairs Committee chairperson would have mentioned to me that she was having various issues in terms of her personal life, and therefore she took some time in the last semester of active Guild service. Following that, the executive of the Guild would have pledged their support to Ms. Henry in terms of any event that she would have needed support with for the second semester. I was pleased that she welcomed very warmly our 17 new international students, but following such, there were no updates from the office, and that is what I could say on that.
Thank you. This question is directed to the Guild Secretary. During your mandate, you stressed on holding the Guild accountable and ensuring what members presented as their plans would be executed. Which of your mandates have been completed, as the student body has not seen any initiatives or activities done by yourself or several members of the council, excluding halls of residence?
Hi, good night, everybody. Thank you for that question. So, I would have presented 3 specific mandates when I campaigned. However, I would have stressed that I am not limited to those mandates. So the 3 mandates would have been organization of the archives of the Guild. I would have also mentioned my mandate progress log, and further the student concerns form. So we'll start with the concerns form. The student concerns form has been it has not been released at this moment, as Mr. Gordon would have presented, that there has been a feedback form that he is also implementing. So because those mandates, as well as the PRO's mandates, all clash, we have one feedback form which will come out, as he said, next week. Further, the president as well as the vice president had been opening office hours, which I believe, as they mentioned, is, at least for the president, is still continuing. So the concerns for the office hours, in terms of personal, questions that you would have had, can be taken straight to there, as well as the form that will come out next week. Further, the mandate log, yes, it has been. I would have campaigned on to all my mandates being internal, meaning that you guys are not going to see the secretary hosting events. If that's what, I never campaigned that I would host any events. If that's what you guys are looking for, sorry. I never said that I would host any events. However, the mandate log has been executed, and as I would have been able to present to you, the councillors that would have fully completed their mandates before we started the AGM, because as I said before, I don't have a physical presentation. So you guys would have heard that, and then also this entire AGM would be about supplementing the remaining councillors who have not, who have not fully completed their mandates. Further, the first mandate being the archive. The archive is currently still in progress. Yes, it has been started. It is also the Guild librarian who's also working. She has sent me an email relating to the submission of the Guild meeting minutes, as well as documents that I would have worked on throughout the semester for the Guild president as well as the treasurer to be submitted to those archives at which she will take control over. So you may not see any of my work physically, you may not have any party or any event. However, I have completed my mandates, and I continue to look forward to working for, even if it's behind the scenes, working for this council. And if you have any questions, the email currently went from 1500 to 0 inbox. So if you have any questions, my inbox is on 0, and I'll be willing to answer any emails. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a question for the FSS rep.
Okay, this is going to be real sharp. So, I will actually try to seek clarity about a specific position that was advertised on since last year, on the 28th of May, right? 2025, which is the government representative. Now, I know two persons in here that does not even know who is the GSSW PP representative, right? Now, you would have indicated that this position would have been open or be opened again, but up to now we haven't had any sort of advertisement or anything indicating such that this position will be filled. Now, your guild members or your colleagues then were able to fill other positions. Why can't you fill this one? Are we not prioritized, or you just don't care?
Was that the question, Vitin? No, I would like to caution everybody here, right? Please, if it is unnecessary to ask question, please ask that question. Because no, the council will not be obligated to respond, right? If they choose to respond, that is up to them. But if a vetted question has been approved, please, I implore everybody, ask that question. Thank you.
All right, I'm still gonna answer it because I remember speaking to you one time when you asked me about them. I checked, but don't do that. Don't do that. I don't mean it in any way, so don't use their reaction, please. When I was checking back, you would have would have opened the applications again on the 5th of November last year. Now, that would have been the chance for you to apply because the first position on the post says government representative. So that would have been the chance for you to reapply, and then we would have interviewed you. In terms of you not knowing who the GSSWP rep is, that has nothing to do with me. Her picture is on the page, her name is on the page, and also you could have messaged me so that you could find out. We have the communities, she's an admin in the community, but that was kind of recent, so okay. But yeah, the application is open.
Thank you. The next question is to the UCC. Do you plan on replacing the pool sticks?
Thank you for that question. I want to make it very plain and simple. First of all, the UCCU worked with previous your president, and we invested in bringing back the pool table for the fun of everybody else. So by the end of the day, us as students, we have big adults here, so our responsibility to take care of the stuff we have on the rail. So by the end of the day, I don't think as of right now we will be soon. If you want to mash it up, mash it up. Because by the end of the day, like Alan said, I am not here for a long time, a short time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay? Right? Is that an order, please? A little order, please. Thank you. Right, this next question is directed to the Frank Worrell Hall chair. Why was Frank Worrell Hall's UWI costume not ready on time for the matter?
Thank you for that question. Unfortunately, due to some circumstances beyond our control, the UWI ban
had to be pushed back. It was an internal matter that needed to be dealt with, and we are currently in the process of getting
ready to launch the costumes for everybody to see.
So please stay tuned
To our Instagram for you to see the costumes. There are teasers that will be dropping soon for you to see the name of the man and the theme
that we have, and it's a very interesting theme. So thank you.
Okay, Abby, this next question is still for you. Is there a reason why your mandate of professional engagement haven't been fulfilled? And how did you enhance the GCR when the last enhancement was done during the last Hall chair's tenure?
The professional development mandate
it was always to start in second semester.
I reached out to a past to an alumni from Mr. Frank Worrell Hall. He and I are
in discussion for him to
he and I are in discussion about the professional development. I just spoke to him yesterday to fully get the details that he is also providing for me and from other alumni. With regards to the JCR revamp, I started the initiative by providing games and a table tennis event upstairs for persons to utilize, because Frank did have a table tennis table at one point in time, a very long time ago. And I realized last semester a lot of persons were playing table tennis, so I decided to invest in the table tennis net 4 persons. I do realize that now that some items are missing, and that is in my mandate and in my portfolio now, or well, on my mandate, to get these items and to include new items. So I also wanted to bring some other games. I was in conversation with accommodations to fix or see if the Wi-Fi could be improved upstairs, because the Wi-Fi connection it doesn't work at points in time, and trying to see personally with my council to see if we could get some other items to put upstairs for persons to utilize. So thank you.
Thank you. I also make another call that the questions on the floor will take precedence over questions on the form. So if you're here, you have a question, it's a bit on the form, I cannot guarantee that we're going to get it. Right? If you really want it to be asked, I encourage you to utilize the systems available on the floor. Right? This next question is directed to the guild president. Why did the team as a whole not take steps to ensure that the IEC pageant took place? Just to repeat, this question is directed to the guild president. Why did the team as a whole not take steps to ensure that the IEC pageant took place?
As we understand at the Guild of Students that the council is one, each council member was appointed or elected on their own merit with their own mandates. And therefore, whereas the executive, inclusive of myself as a past ICC, would have gone the extra mile to personally and professionally assist Ms. Henry, there's only so much that the council as a whole could do before it steps in and does the job itself. Each person has to bear their own responsibilities. And that is true for the guild as it is true for others outside of the guild. And that was done. To a certain extent, we went above and beyond as an executive, and I cannot fault especially Tion, Asia, Alex, and Allen's in terms of asking every week whether or not they need to step in to assist. And that opportunity wasn't given to us, and therefore we accept the resignation of Mr. Ray. Thank you.
Mr. President, this question is also directed to you. What are you doing about the mold in Clico and Sagico roof?
Thank you for that question. My apologies for not having any classes there. I don't have any classes there, but it was brought to my attention last week, I think. Since then, I would have engaged in place. Now, it is true of all of the buildings on the campus that at some point there have been complaints about mold. And when those complaints are made, I send them over to who is responsible. I am not a mold specialist. I send them over to who is responsible. So once again, thank you for that reminder. I will send it over to who is responsible tomorrow morning. Thank you.
This question is directed to the treasurer. Who gets paid on the guild or an association with the guild?
Okay, so thank you for the question. We have to pay the office secretary, and we have ancillary staff that have to be paid as well from the guild budget. So the office secretary, not Miss Enos, she's the office manager. She gets paid from the university. But there's the office secretary, Miss Thompson, and then ancillary staff as well that get paid monthly. Oh, that answers the question.
Colleagues, I ask for your indulgence. This question is valid. When it is directed to the committee's representative.
Can the bus begin dropping Frank Worrell Hall students directly at Frank?
The same way when we ask, we're told the road is too narrow in a very rude manner. However, this confuses me because I was not aware that we have become so advanced that the bus now flies up the hill to park in front of Park. Since it clearly drives up there, it seems that stopping briefly to drop students off once should not be impossible. Students often have to struggle up the hill carrying heavy groceries and other items, which is both inconvenient and exhausting. We are simply asking for the same consideration that is already extended to other homes. I would appreciate if this matter could be brought up to the appropriate channels.
Thank you for your question. Yes, I'll bring it up, no problem.
Good night, community guild. First off, thank you guys for putting yourself up on everything we do. It is hard. That I would like to establish by saying we know that you all are not the invasion government and the police. However, I do have some concerns in terms of safety, so if anyone at all can answer, I really appreciate it. So over the past couple of months, the crime level in Barbados has gone up, with many of those crimes sitting as close as to home as Freehill and even down below by Swansea. While we can acknowledge that the guild again is not the police and do hold limited power, I'd like to know, especially given the fact that we have a multitude of events coming up, such as TTSB, UWI, FSS. Do you all have anything in place to ensure the safety of students so that we can actually have fun and be safe at these events? That's one.
Thank you for that question. Upon assuming my duties, I would have met with the principal, deputy principal, and registrar concerning the issues that we have brought up. No, it's not far from me or far removed from me as a student that they are safety concerns. In fact, when I still went to the Freehill, I was cornered by a car one night, and that kind of pushed me to return to halls. Now, the issues that you are speaking about are not isolated, and therefore we would have had a serious discussion with the police commissioner and the chief of campus security. Following that, the deputy principal indicated that he was willing to meet with the students to discuss their concerns, one, and two, to emphasize the importance of adhering to the safety protocols. At that meeting, which would have been in week 1, there were less than 40 students in attendance, and therefore I think that we could have increased that. Now, in terms of the girls' response, in terms of its events, we continue to provide the shuttle services. We continue to make sure that they are semi-reasonable. I think I will, from my budget, seek to subsidize even further the fee of the shuttles to ensure that persons can be able to return home safely. Now, we continuously are in conversation with the police, especially as it relates to UWI. So at our events, we have both campus and private security, and we seek to also be in contact with the police for every event that we do, so that they, whose responsibility is to protect us, are present on site and in the surrounding areas when we conduct our events.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the follow-up, the follow-up question is similar. So this past week, a very serious security incident would have occurred down at classroom, to which campus security would have been called immediately following that event, as well as the police officers. Following the incident, 2 students had 2 minor injuries and multiple had obvious signs of mental and emotional trauma. However, campus security, despite driving past 5 times to go down to SO, did not stop to ensure that students were okay. May I ask, what exactly is the role of campus security, as reports, especially for that of non-nationals, must be made through them, as well as when these reports are made, what is the procedure to ensure that, what is the procedure to ensure that these incidents, especially when occurred by students of the university to other students of the university, that formal measures are put in place to continue this?
Thank you for that question. Very comprehensive. Now, what I would say to the first part is that I'm not sure if when it comes to assisting formally, I don't report Tuesday night. Particular students have not received any formal complaints regarding campus security's behavior or the incidents altogether, which occurred following Tuesday night. However, I do know that there were counselors present and we were well informed given their eyewitness reports. I think that this is a conversation that cannot be fully well expressed here, and I think if I should express it here only, then it would be a disservice to the students. I do want to take the time to invite you for further discussions as to what exactly happened and how we can report it in a comprehensive manner. Also, the role of campus security is to protect the campus, its students, its staff, and the environment. However, as we all know, the resources of campus security are quite limited, and therefore with only one van, it is only so much that the campus security can do. Now, that has not stopped my advocacy in terms of the campus's response to security. I do know that, especially for external security, the policy has been, if you find your security at halls of residence after hours sleeping, you have to take a picture and send it to the guild president. And that will be forwarded to the registrar for disciplinary matters. However, in addition to that, you would have seen a hyped up security on our halls of residence, given the visitors' cards that were implemented recently. I think that following this AGM, we should have a conversation, but what you or the students will have witnessed by campus security is totally contrary to what is supposed to happen. I apologize on behalf of campus administration to you at this point and to all the students who were present. And I am working now to rectify the situation through formal efforts.
My question is directed to the treasurer. How do we hold the office of the treasurer completely accountable when the budgeted allocation figure presented was stated to be lower than the actual funds received?
All right, thank you for the question. So to clarify, at the start of the year when we're submitting the master budget, when we have no clue how many people are actually going to get registered, we use what we call like a safe number. So we know unless something seriously wrong happens, we're going to have at least, let's say, 5,700 students, and that was the number that would have been used. But last year, we would have had over 6,000 students, which means that we would have more money coming in from registration fees. And I think as of today, we have 5,551 students registered, and some of that would have 5,511, and some of that includes new registration fees, right? But what we did exactly was just use the lower figure so we could still have the rest of the funds as a cushion. So then to get to answer the question about how we can keep me accountable, well, as soon as the bursary sends me the consolidated figures from their financial report, I'll be able to know the exact figure that we're working with, and I'll communicate it to the student body so you can see the difference. But regardless, I think that money could be left as a cushion as we're well within the boundaries of the proposed or the budgeted number from the start of the year. Thank you.
Will the free healthcare situation ever be addressed? The first campus is not working. Sorry. Will the free healthcare situation ever be addressed? The first light leaving campus is not working. It's only directed to the president or the committee's representative.
Thank you for that question. As it relates to lighting on campus, as I would have stated earlier, as we continue to plead with in place, we are making steady improvements to the lighting issue on campus. So I will note this and I will get an update. I guess you could come to office hours and find out. Or you will see that there has been an improvement to lighting. So I will know that the Free Hill first light is done. And so I will note that for the first thing tomorrow.
Thank you. We have a question on the floor.
So this question is directed to the committee's rep. So a member of the audience would like to know if the youth shuttle will be able to run to Free Hill.
Okay, and this is the final question for tonight. And this question is directed to the NECC. Will there be a cool-down truck on the road? Also, can your val be longer? Last year was wonderful, but ended too fast.
Good night, everyone. In terms of the cool-down truck, when it comes to the treasurer and the budget, we can always go back at that to accommodate that for the bills. And in terms of the val being longer, we need to always remember that we don't set inside that when we can play music, so we can only go with what we can get.
Thank you, everybody. This concludes the question and answer segment of the Guild annual general meeting. We do have refreshments outside, so please make your way there. Also, the shuttle time has not been extended, so if you have to take the last shuttle, please make your way to the shuttle stop near you.
And speaking of TTSA week, 28th of February, Mecca, welcome to the Fatland. The ticket runners are Jamal Lewis, Shania McKechnie, Mary Ann Cruikshank, Israel Calendar, and you can get it at Frank, the Guild Bar, and the Guild, right? Okay, TTSA week, right.